So finally, we are going to learn about one more important example here. It is okra. Okra means lady's finger, children. In lady's finger, a variety is developed by conventional plant breeding program only. That variety is Parbhani Kranti. Parbhani Kranti. The scientific name of okra is Abelmoschus esculentus, and in this plant the new variety by name Parbhani Kranti is developed by conventional plant breeding program by collecting the genes. The donor of disease resistant gene is a wild variety of Abelmoschus, which is resistant to yellow mosaic virus, children. So like that, we can use the plant breeding program for production of the disease resistant varieties, so that the production of the crops is enhanced more by controlling the diseases. So it is also one of the technique to improve the production of the crops, and that also by using the plant breeding techniques only, children, right? In the next session, we are going to learn about plant breeding for pest resistance. Okay, children. Now we are going to learn about the plant breeding, conventional plant breeding program for resistance to pests. So normally, what are pests? The pests include mainly insects, nematodes, rodents, all these. Mainly they attack the crops and destroy the production, and hence resulting in a great loss, which was approximately estimated about 40%, that is more than disease causing pathogens. Okay, so there are certain natural qualities in the plants which are not preferable by these insects and pests. Let us see what are those natural pest resistant characters which are present in the plants. Means they are classified into three types: morphological, biochemical and physiological characters. So that they are naturally available characters which are present in the plants which won't allow some of the pests and insects to attack them. Let us see what are those with examples. First, presence of hairy leaves. Hairy leaves presence is a morphological character which is present in naturally in cotton plant, which is not preferable by Jessids, So it is a naturally available character in the cotton plant which won't allow the Jessids to attack. Similarly, in wheat, hairy leaves in wheat are not preferable to cereal leaf beetle. Right, children? Similarly, one more character in the cotton itself, smooth leaves and low nectar or less nectar, nectar means honey, is not preferable to, in cotton only, is not preferable to bollworms. So bollworms are the pests which will attack the cotton plants. If the plants themselves are having smooth leaves and low nectar, it is not preferable for the bollworms. And solid stems in wheat are not preferable to stem saw fly. Similarly, low nitrogen, low sugar and high aspartic acid are not preferable by stem borer in maize. So these are the characters which are present naturally in the maize which are not preferable to stem borer. Like that, many natural characters are present in many crop plants which won't allow some of the pests to attack them. And by using the conventional plant breeding program, the same steps involved in the other characters also, the scientists have developed some new varieties even in the crop plants which are resistant against the pests. Right, let us see what are the examples. The examples of the hybrids which are developed by conventional plant breeding program. Here, first we are going to learn about Brassica. In Brassica, which is commonly called as rapeseed oil plant, a new variety is developed, a hybrid variety by name Pusa Gaurav. Pusa Gaurav is developed by conventional plant breeding program which is resistant to aphids. Similarly, in flat beans, new hybrids are developed by name Pusa Sem2 and Pusa Sem3, which are resistant to jassids, aphids and fruit borers. And in okra, bindi, lady's finger, a new variety is developed by conventional plant breeding program is Pusa Savani. Pusa Savani or Pusa A1. So these are the hybrids which are resistant to fruit and shoot borers. Okay children, now we are going to learn about plant breeding for improved food quality. When you estimate an average more than 840 million people are suffering with hunger, means lack of adequate food. More than 840 million people across the world are suffering with hunger, that means lack of adequate food. And when you estimate approximately 3 billion people are suffering with a problem called as hidden hunger across the world. Hidden hunger. What is meant by hidden hunger? It is deficiency of micronutrients like proteins, vitamins and micronutrients because these people cannot afford to buy the protein rich or vitamin rich fruits, vegetables, fish, meat, etc. So because of the lack of these micronutrients, what happens to them? They easily become prey for the diseases. So because of the deficiency will increase the risk of diseases and reduce mental abilities and reduce lifespan also. So all these problems are because of deficiency of proteins, vitamins and micronutrients. So we cannot afford to supply all these food which is rich in the form of fruits, vegetables and meat to the people. But we can solve this problem by enhancing these micronutrients in the normally taken food by these people, that is improving these nutrients and enriching these nutrients in the daily consuming the food products like rice and other leafy vegetables. And production of the improved varieties of vegetables, crops and other plants which are rich in these micronutrients is called as biofortification. So now we are going to learn what is biofortification. So what is meant by biofortification, children? Producing the crops or developing crops which are rich in vitamins, proteins, essential fats, micronutrients is called as biofortification. And the main objective of this program is, objectives of this program is improving quality and quantity of protein content and quality, and improving oil content and quality, and improving vitamins, and improving essential micronutrients in the crops which are regularly taken, consumed as a food by the people. Right, let us see what are the best examples which are developed by plant breeding program. Right. Year 2000, a maize variety is developed which is twice the amount rich in the essential amino acids lysine and tryptophan. So this maize variety is developed in the year 2000, which is rich in twice the amount of lysine and tryptophan when compared to the existing varieties of maize. For example, in India, the maize variety developed by which are rich in lysine, are Protino, Shakti, Ratan, etc. Similarly, Atlas 66 is a wheat variety which is acting as a donor for the character of protein for other cultivated varieties, to the other cultivated varieties. A rice variety which is 5 times more iron, with 5 times more iron when compared to cultivated variety or consumed variety, is developed by this plant breeding program. Here IARI, Indian Agricultural Research Institute, will have performed a great role in the production of many crops in the fruits, vegetables and other leafy vegetables which are rich in different types of micronutrients. Let us see what are those examples. IARI, Indian Agricultural Research Institute, which is located at New Delhi, it developed many vegetable crops and other food crops which are rich in different types of micronutrients. For example, vitamin A rich carrots, pumpkins and spinach, leafy vegetable are developed which are rich in vitamin A, right children? Similarly, the crops which are rich in vitamin C are bitter gourd, batua. Batua is a leafy vegetable which is Chenopodium species which is called king of vegetables. Tomatoes, mustard, all these crops are developed which are rich in vitamin C by IARI. Similarly, which are rich in calcium and iron. Calcium and iron rich spinach and batua are developed by the same organization. And protein rich beans like broad beans, lab, groundnut, all these are different crops which are rich in the different types of micronutrients. So by consuming these, by normal, even common man also can save from the problem of the deficiency symptoms of the micronutrients, like which is resulting in diseases and reducing the mental abilities like that. Okay children, and now we are going to learn about the next topic in the chapter, that is single cell proteins, right? Now we are going to learn the importance of single cell proteins. Till now we will learn the steps taken by the plant breeding program to improve the quality as well as quantity of the food, to supply food for each and every person in the country. But here an alternative, though they are producing a large amount of food and other products, but still there is a great demand by the increasing human population. Hence, an alternative source for the production of food in the form of proteins has been thought by the scientists. That alternate method only, single cell proteins, which is abbreviated as SCP. And which organisms will come under the production of SCP means they are fungi, algae, bacteria. All these organisms can be utilized to produce the proteins in large quantities. So here it is an alternative method to produce proteins in large quantities, but don't think that single cell proteins means unicellular organisms. Not only unicellular organisms, even multicellular, both unicellular and multicellular microorganisms are utilized in this method. Why they shifted to this SCP means actually the scientists thought a shift from grain to meat. They want to shift because production of grain is okay, is possible. If you shift the food habits from grain to meat, is it useful? No, it is also not possible to replace the grain with meat, because production of meat requires approximately 3 kgs to 10 kgs grain is required to produce 1 kilogram meat in the form of flesh. So here also a great demand from grain again. Hence they thought about an alternative source for the production of food in the form of protein, that is single cell proteins. And in these organisms, they are multiplied, they are having high rate of multiplication and increase in their biomass in large scale in less time. That is why these organisms are multiplied by using different materials as a raw material for the multiplication, especially which are used as SCP in fungi, bacteria and algae. Let us see. In fungi, you know very well about mushrooms, which comes under Basidiomycetes. The commonly used mushroom is Agaricus bisporus. Agaricus bisporus, it is a commonly edible mushroom, and now the production of these mushrooms is become a small scale industry, and it is a accepted food material by all the people. You know well about the mushroom. Then other one is Torula yeast. Torula yeast, Candida utilis. Similarly, Baker's yeast, that is Saccharomyces cerevisiae. And one more best example of fungi as SCP is Chaetomium cellulolyticum. Chaetomium cellulolyticum. These are the best examples of fungi which can be used as single cell protein source. Now we are going to learn about which are used in bacteria. In bacteria, Brevibacterium, Ketoglutamicum and Methylophilus methylotropus. These are the best example of bacterial organisms which are used as single cell proteins. Here we have to discuss about an important point, that regarding the high rate of multiplication and production of large biomass by the Methylophilus methylotropus bacterium. Here it is not exaggeration to say that suppose you are rearing a cow which is about 250 kgs in weight. A cow can yield milk around 3 to 5 liters per day, which maximum contain 200 grams of protein per day. So a cow which is weighing about 250 kgs can give a production of 200 grams of protein only per day. And if you are using this bacterium, Methylophilus methylotropus bacterium, approximately 250 grams of bacteria which is containing millions of cells, and it is cultured by using the fermenters, it can produce 25 tons of protein per day, children. Is it amazing? So production of proteins in large scale is by using the microorganisms we can produce as an alternate source for food. Similarly, let us see which algae can be utilized as SCPs. Here algae examples are Chlorella pyrenoidosa and Cnidismus acutus and Spirulina maxima. Actually Spirulina maxima will come under cyanobacteria, blue-green algae, and you know very well that Chlorella and Spirulina are also used as the food for the space travelers. Space travelers will use this as food, right? And here one more advantage of using Spirulina as the source of single cell protein is that we can grow this Spirulina. We can culture this Spirulina by using the waste waters from potato processing plants. From potato processing plants which is rich in starch. And not only that, we can also use molasses which are produced as a byproduct in the sugarcane factories. And even we can use sewage water also. Even we can use sewage water. So hence children, here we can get that these microorganisms which are useful as a source of single cell proteins are not only producing the protein in large scale but also can reduce, because we are using here waste water, they can reduce, they are useful to reduce environmental pollutions. So like this we can apply the multiplication, high rate of multiplication of single cell organisms or even multicellular organisms in the production of protein in large scale. Right children? And now we are going to learn about the last topic of this chapter, tissue culture. Okay children, now we are going to learn about the important topic under this chapter, that is plant tissue culture. Actually this plant tissue culture is based upon the principle that is called as totipotency. Totipotency means what? It is the ability of a plant cell, to regenerate the entire plant or the whole plant under controlled conditions. And the term is given by Morgan. The term totipotency is given by Morgan in the year 1901. Okay, now let us see one more important here, that is explant. We have to know what is meant by explant. Explant is any tissue or organ that is excised from the plant with desirable character and cultured in nutrient medium, that is in vitro. It is an in vitro process. Then who initiated this program first means, he is a German scientist, a German botanist by name Gottlieb Haberland. He first initiated this program in the year 1902 by taking the isolated cells of Tradescantia. He developed the plant by using the isolated cells of Tradescantia. Right children? And later one more invention, discovery by Skoog and Miller in 1959. Skoog and Miller, they discovered an plant hormone by name cytokinin, that is kinetin, which is responsible for the regeneration of tobacco callus. So this is the main step for the launching the tissue culture as a main program in the multiplication of the plants with desirable properties. Right. Now let us see what are the main steps involved in the tissue culture program. Okay. Now let us see what are the steps involved in the tissue culture technique. These are the steps involved in the tissue culture technique. The first one is preparation of culture medium, and second one is sterilization of culture medium. Third step, preparation and sterilization of explant. Fourth step is inoculation. Fifth one, incubation. And sixth one is acclimatization or hardening. Let us see one by one how to carry these techniques in the tissue culture. In that, the first one we are going to learn about preparation of culture medium. So, to culture the callus from the explant, we have to provide all the nutrients for the division and multiplication of the explant into callus. And for this preparation, many scientists have prepared different compositions to give a basic culture medium. But out of all culture media, the universally accepted culture media is MS culture medium, MS. This MS culture medium is prepared by two scientists by name Murashige and Skoog. Hence the medium is Briefly it is called as MS culture medium. Then how to produce this culture medium? This is the basic culture medium which contain all the nutrients and the ingredients which are essential for the proliferation of the explant. Let us see how they produce this MS culture medium. First, they have taken distilled water. In distilled water, what are the requirements? They are dissolved in the carbon source. They use sucrose or glucose as source of carbon. So the main requirement is carbon for the multiplication of the cells. So they have taken sucrose or glucose as the source of the carbon, and other essentials. Other essentials, there are vitamins, minerals, both macronutrients having nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, calcium, magnesium, etc., and micronutrients having iron, manganese, zinc, molybdenum, etc. All these required minerals, and organic compounds like amino acids, sugars, inorganic salts, and mainly the basic requirement here plant growth regulators. They have taken the plant growth regulators, plant hormones like auxins and cytokinins, especially at the source of auxin they have taken either IAA or NAA or 2,4-D, and the source of cytokinin they have taken BAP in short form, and benzyl aminopurine. Benzyl aminopurine, all these ingredients they are taken in a specific ratio, and ultimately they dissolved in the distilled water to produce the culture medium. And not only that, they maintain the pH value. The pH value should be maintained from 5 to 6 value, and the temperature of the culture medium approximately should be 24 degrees. So all these requirements must be necessary to produce the basic culture medium, and this is done by the scientists Murashige and Skog. Hence it is called as MS culture medium, which is commonly used to produce the plants by tissue culture technique. And this medium is again of two types based upon their solidification. If it is solidified, for the solidification of this culture medium, they will use a polysaccharide. That is, to solidify this, they use the polysaccharide by name agar. This agar is a polysaccharide obtained from the red algae like Gelidium and Gracilaria, and these are solidified culture media, but sometimes they suspend. Without solidifying the culture medium, they will use suspension culture medium. In suspension culture medium, they do not solidify the culture medium. The culture medium is in the form of liquid only, and in this liquid they suspend the explant by some supporters, and they will give some agitation. These suspension culture mediums are provided with agitation, means shaking the culture vessels at the rate of 150 to 250 RPM, rotations per minute. And these suspension culture media will allow the proliferation of explant into tiny callus cultures, and this type of suspension culture mediums are better advantageous when compared to the solidified culture media's children. So normally they use suspension culture media to produce the callus in small quantities but in large scale. And now this culture medium is poured